Hello, Magic Gathering players. This is Maelstrom MTG back again with some budget modern. We're back after quite a summer, and we are back with quite the deck. And we usually limit ourselves to being just under $100 with our budget decks, but today I feel like I can limit myself to under $25. Now I know that getting back from the summer, I did two streams and an art video, but those didn't really catch. The streams, I didn't realize that since I was inactive for 2 months that nobody would show up. So I should really, what my plan is going to be is to from now on just work on pre-recorded content and then maybe ease into some streaming when people start watching again. Now, going into this, right off the bat, before you write me off, Gigantha is not for game 1. Gigantha is for game 2 when you side a certain card out, when you side Squirrel Nest out. So, when you see Gigantha and the fact that the deck doesn't actually work in the main board, the reason is because I understand that Gigantha is there and it's for a later game. It's for if you need more of a beater. But the deck, as you can see, as I said, Squirrel Nest, the deck is Squirrel Ball. Now, it's not pure Squirrel Tribal. I know that people saw Squirrel Sovereign and really wanted it to be a thing. But currently in Modern, I would say that if you want squirrels, you really got to go combo. And then hope for more cards to be printed eventually. But to start us off, we do have our main combo, and I do want to explain this because the entirety of the deck is based around this one combo. So we have Scurry Oak, which reads, Evolve whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control. If it has greater power or toughness than Scurry Oak, then you're going to toss a counter onto Scurry Oak. And then whenever one or more counters are put onto Scurry Oak, you may create a 1/1 green squirrel token. So what's going to happen is you're going to use this effect, the second effect, most of the time to end the game, but Evolve is a good way of starting the combo, starting the loop, and you'll see exactly what I mean from that. But there are a lot of cards like this, whether it's Pellet Collector or Experiment 1, that have this Evolve-esque ability, and they've made some ground, and so I think Scurry Oak can as well. Pairing with Scurry Oak, we have Lane Denizen. Whenever another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter onto target creature. Now, this is already a 2/3, which means that if you play Scurry Oak and then the next turn play Lane Denizen, Denizen is going to trigger Evolve on Scurry Oak, putting the counter on, creating Squirrel. Then Squirrel is a green creature. So when that enters, you're going to put a +1/+1 counter on any creature. The creature you're going to choose to put it on is Scurry Oak. Okay? And then once you put the counter onto Scurry Oak, you create another squirrel. And then you trigger Lane Denizen, putting a counter on Scurry Oak. And you create an infinite loop. And that is the main combo of the deck. There is a side combo, but this is the main one. This is the only one where you can go infinite. And you eventually have to stop. You have to declare a number of squirrels you create. But once you stop, you can either choose to decline the Scurry Oak trigger, or you can put the counter onto any creature on the board. For example, Lane Denizen, so it's out of bolt range. The second combo in the deck is including Arbor Elf, which is where you can tap to untap target forest, and then you put a Squirrel Nest onto a forest. So if you turn one in Arbor Elf into a turn 2 second forest, you can actually play your forest, and then you can tap 2 mana, tap Arbor Elf, untap a land, tap it, and then play your Squirrel Nest. That's a fairly slow turn 2 in this deck when you're trying to end towards the Scurry Oak Lane Denizen combo. But if you do have that, that is the second combo where you can slowly start creating some squirrels. The next turn, if both Arbor Elf and Squirrel Nest are on the field, you can tap the land to create a squirrel, tap Arbor Elf to untap the land, to tap to create a second squirrel that same turn. And as you can see, we have no shortage of forests. If you wanted to upgrade the list, you could add a little, you could get a little more fancy with the mana base, but I still recommend keeping in mind that you do need those forests for Arbor Elf. Next up, to keep in mind is that Squirrel is a 3-drop and Lane Denizen is a 4-drop. Now, that does not mean that they can't be played in Modern. It just means that you have to play around that. Because usually you want the game to end on turn 4, but you can actually have it end on turn 3. You can have it essentially end on turn 3 and then swing in with combat on turn 4. So if you land an Arbor Elf or an Elvish Mystic is just a mana dork. If you land one of these 8 cards on the board on turn 1, and then turn 2 a Squirrel into a turn 3 Lane Denizen, you win on that 4th turn unless you're dealt with. Then after that, you have cards that get you to your combo, because that's really it. That's your combo. You have Arbor Elf and Squirrel Nest, and then your main combo Squirrel and Lane Denizen. The cards that get you there are Elvish Visionary, which draws you a card on Enter the Battlefield, and then Wall of Blossoms, which draws you a card on Enter the Battlefield. Then you also have Wall of Roots, which also ramps, and it also acts as a big butt on the battlefield so that it can just absorb a lot of damage early on. Other ways you can search for your combo include Winding Way, which is a 2-mana, choose creature or land. Then you look at the top 4, put all cards of the chosen type into your hand and the rest in your graveyard. This can help if you're lacking some mana, but it can also help if you're trying to search for your combo. And what I like about this card is it says all. Then lead the Stampede is look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal any number of creature cards from among them, and put those into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your deck. So Lead the Stampede and Winding Way are both ways to search out your combo. Let's say you do land an Arbor Elf or a Mystic on turn 1, but you don't quite have your combo. Well, you can Winding Way or you can Lead the Stampede, and then you can really get close. If you don't get your combo in these, though, likelihood is that you still drew a Wall of Blossoms or an Elvish Visionary, which will draw you closer to your combo. Then we do have the last non-land card in the deck, which is Postmortem Lunge, and you could look at maybe making this you could make this another creature. I like the ability to I like to bring it back and be able to bring it directly to the field. There are some things that can bring it to your hand. But I like bringing it directly to the field. Sure, it only brings it back for 1 turn, but that's what your deck is. It's a Hail Mary. If you don't win from Infinite Squirrels, it's probably because your opponent killed all your creatures. So, for that reason, I'd say Postmortem Lunge is probably going to be the better bet for a lot of your things. Then you have your lands. You have 19 forests and 2 tranquil thickets for a little bit of utility. It does enter tapped, which is why most of the time you're actually going to use it to just cycle. But if you're in a pinch, you can use it as a land. But it's really a hey, if you have too many lands, you can cycle this and get hopefully a better card. And that's it for the main deck. And as you can see, everything in the main deck is actually meets Gigantha's requirement except for Squirrel Nest. And that's because in Game 2 or Game 3, you're going to know what your opponent's playing. So you can't really adjust out. You can't really take out a lot of these cards in your deck. Maybe the Wall of Roots. You really want to keep the Visionaries and Blossoms, and you can't touch the rest of the deck. So really the only thing you can often take out of the deck is Squirrel Nest or Postmortem Lunge if it's not relevant. But Squirrel Nest, once you take it out, immediately frees up Gigantha because nothing in our sideboard is actually going to harm Gigantha. So in game 2, when our opponent thinks, okay, we're very Glass Cannon all in on this combo, they're going to bring in Combo Hate, and then we're going to bring in Gigantha so that when they try to stop our combo, they don't realize that we're playing a 5/5 elk. And I know that might seem like a little bit of a weird strategy, but I have won so many games not even just this deck, just so many games just swinging with Giganta. So don't underestimate the power of this elk. Anyway, for our sideboard, we do have some graveyard hate, we have some control hate, we have some combo hate, we have some mill hate, we have some combo slash aggro hate, and we also have some artifact enchantment as a broad category hate. And it does cycle, but more often than not, if you're cycling with your sideboard cards, you're either winning like to the point where like it doesn't matter anymore, or you're making a mistake. So really, it's just there as a 2-mana way to deal with our opponent's artifact enchantments. Anyway, that's the deck. It's a very sweet deck, and I would love to do some gameplay of this. We will see how that goes, but for now, I'm enjoying re-recording, and hopefully this time I actually have sound. I'm going to have to re-listen to it, because apparently when I recorded this last time, it did not have sound. So, let's give it a go, and I will see you next time.